Hey everybody, we're going to do some paper cut versions of some of the famous architectural places around Kansas City. Alright, so every city has its own well-known buildings. So architecture refers to the design of buildings. And so when you talk about architecture and a city like Kansas City, you often talk about the idea of a skyline, okay? And a skyline is like the line that is drawn between the sky and the buildings. So if you think about that, each city has its own unique skyline because they all have their own unique buildings. Okay, so like we have the Sprint Center and the Kauffman Center, and there's Bartle Hall with the Sky Stations. Okay, and the Kansas City Power and Light Building. So you see a lot of those things. If you Google like Kansas City skyline, you can see some of these pictures. Okay, you often see this one from Liberty Memorial where it's got Union Station there in the foreground, and then the Sky Stations in the background, and you can see some of the other famous buildings of Kansas City around. So you can check that out, look around at some of those things, and then I have a whole list of buildings for you to look up and maybe learn a little bit more about and take a look at some of the pictures of them. Um, but the first one that we're going to start with is the Kansas City Power and Light Building. Okay, it's kind of like our most iconic skyscraper in the Kansas City area. And so we're going to use this idea to make some paper cut versions of these buildings. So when I'm showing you the examples today, if you want to download this PDF file from adammusart.com, just go to the YouTube spot and then click download KC Architecture Projects. And if you click on that, then I'm going to have examples of the buildings and kind of the template for what you would draw so that you would get each building to look kind of like the examples that I've made. And we'll talk about what we're going to do there and how to do some of these things. And then you can decide which buildings you want to make. Okay, so there's several examples here, and then you can come up with your own. So we're going to start with the Power and Light Building, this skyscraper type design, because it'll teach us most of the things that we want to know. So this is the one that we're going to be working on, and that's the template that you want. So now you know where to find that stuff, and you can download it and have it on your computer. If you have a printer at home, you can print it out. Otherwise, I think you should be able to look at it. You might even be able to like size this up and zoom in on it. And if you have this on an iPad or something, you could probably put your paper on top of it and trace it. I don't know. I'll let you figure that out if you can figure out how to make that work for you. Okay. In class, we'll just set the paper next to the template and draw so that we can figure all of those things out. So let's get set up, and I'll show you how to make the Power and Light Building. Alright, cool, there it is, super fast. Alright, so this is the Kansas City Power and Light Building, or our paper cut representation of it. It's kind of simplified and abstract. And this is the template that we're going to use. In class, I would have people do these in neutral colors, okay? So maybe grays, black, or white, okay? I usually count these pinks or peaches or tans, browns, okay? Those kinds of things as the neutral colors. So you could use black and white as well. The reason I do that is because most buildings are made in fairly neutral color schemes. But the other reason is we're going to make a background for this as well. So let's just try this out and see what we can get. So how about we'll do this. Now these templates are designed to be used with 6-inch by 9-inch paper. Okay, so you can make them any size you want, but you'll just kind of have to do the resizing proportionally on your own. So I'm going to take this one and I'll slide it over here. I know it'll be by my head a little bit, but this will give you an idea of what we're trying to do. So the middle of the building is always on the left on these templates. So the spine is always on the left, just like it would be if you were closing a book. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to copy the template. It doesn't have to be copied exactly, okay, but close would be best. And then we'll just kind of do that, and we'll create the template for the building, okay? And then this is kind of the lantern at the top of the power and light building. And then along here, I'm going to draw several little rectangles that will turn into the windows that go down the center of the building. Then when we get to the bottom, we'll make a longer one so it sort of has a door, okay? Now this line right down here, we're going to do what we call a cabinet fold to figure out where that's supposed to be. So if you think about the doors of a cabinet, okay, they close into the middle, okay, and they don't overlap each other because that wouldn't really work for cabinet doors. So one way to think about this is calling it a cabinet fold, where these are the doors of the cabinet and they open up. So you fold those sides in until they line up with the middle, okay? And if you have that cabinet fold on there, you can do that first, okay? And then you're able to draw your windows so that they match up with the other ones along the building here, okay? I'll make that one down a little bit farther, okay? And then I'll show you how to cut this out so that you get this main idea of the building. So we'll fold that back up, and we're going to cut both layers at the same time so that it is symmetrical, okay? We're trying to work on cutting right angles, so you can snip in like this if you want to and try to get the right angles to drop out, or you can cut in a little bit, okay, and then turn your paper, okay? So one way to do that is to cut in, turn the paper, and then cut and turn the paper. So cut a little bit in, and you can get those pieces to drop out of there. So you'll figure it out. There's lots of ways to make this work, but we want to try to get those pieces of paper out of there and get right angles the best that we can, okay? So once we've got that cut out, then we'll have the silhouette of the building, okay? But then we want to have the windows cut through there too. So we'll cut, turn, and snip. So cut in a little bit, turn, cut, turn, cut, okay? And you're just going to spend some time to cut all of those windows out. Cut, turn, cut, turn, cut, turn, cut, turn, cut. Okay, so you get the idea. Let me hit pause and I'll finish this up. Alright, so we've got that cut. When I open it up, then I've got the windows going up the center of the building. Okay, so now I want to take my first cabinet fold and I'm going to fold that in and leave this other part open so I can cut those. Now you could try, and I have had people do that before, okay, to fold both of those cabinet folds and then fold these together and cut them so that you had 4 layers of paper going at the same time. But it's usually a lot harder to cut that many layers of paper accurately. So I find it's better to just spend the time to do the 2 layers, or the 2 sides separately, okay? So we're going to cut, turn, and cut. So we'll cut these sides out here, and then you've got 2 real choices here. If you're not too worried about it, okay, you can just open it up and go ahead and draw the windows across from each other so they're about in the same place, and that's not too hard. Or you could fold it up like this, okay, so that you had the windows on this side where they would kind of line up together, and then you could mark where the windows are using this piece here, okay? Instead of just eyeballing, you can mark where they are, and then you'd have a pretty close representation of those windows on the other side. And then you could cut those windows out as well, okay? So, wow, oh no! So that happens sometimes. All right, don't worry. We'll see if we can live through that, okay? Jesus erases all of our mistakes. But I'm not going to, because I don't have time to figure out how to edit it. So, alright, too bad. We tore a little piece of that one. So, maybe your first one will go better than that. I don't know. Maybe it'll go worse than that. You'd think I would be pretty good at this. I've done it a bunch of times. So, anyway, once I have everything cut out, then I have my first building done, okay? I can glue this down when I glue it onto the paper later on, okay? The other cool thing you can do is you can make these sort of 3D, and you can see if you can like get them to stand up, okay? Because if you balance them up, then you can make an almost three-dimensional city out of the whole thing too, which is kind of a cool idea. So maybe we'll play with that idea a little bit. Okay, so cool, that's our first one, the power and light building. Try that out, okay? And then what I want you to do is look up these other buildings, okay, and get out the templates and try some more. So let me give you a list of buildings to put in Google and learn a little bit more about, and then we'll do one more example building, a horizontal one, since this is a vertical one, and then I'll let you go ahead and make a whole bunch of buildings so you have a whole collection. Alright, so let's see. Here are some of the buildings that I want you to go ahead and look up. So look up these buildings. KC Power and Light Building, we did that. Bartle Hall and the Sky Stations, Union Station, Kauffman Center, Sprint Center, Liberty Memorial, the Nelson Atkins Museum, and then the Country Club Plaza. You can look up the Gerald Tower or the Plaza Clock Tower and see some of those towers that are built in sort of that Italian style down there on the plaza. You can look up the Cathedral of St. Peter, which is the cathedral church for the Archbishop, and then, well, you can look up Prince of Peace if you want, but we're going to do that one next for our next building. That's going to be a horizontal style building. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a representation of Prince of Peace Church, okay? So this is a little bit like our home church for the school, and that's what we're going to do next. So instead of being a vertical building, this one is going to be a horizontal style building. So you're going to take that same size paper if you're using the 6x9 paper like me, but instead of having it be folded the long way, hot dog style, this is going to be a hamburger style fold, okay? So we'll fold it in half this way, and then we'll do the same thing. We're going to trace the image, okay, using our template, okay? Now this one's a little bit trickier because I've got these extra lines here, and what that is cabinet fold, but I call it a double cabinet fold. You might want to do that before you even start so you know where these lines go. So when I do a double cabinet fold, I do the first cabinet fold, okay, like normal to the middle, and then I fold it in again, okay? So I get 4 layers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And that's the way the double cabinet fold works, okay? And then that gets everything lined up. And I do the same thing on this side. I fold it to the middle, okay? And then I fold that to the middle one more time, okay? When I open it up, it's going to be kind of unusual, so I have to go back and fold those 3 times, okay? And so now everything will be divided up, and I'll have those lines on there. And you can sketch those lines in if you want, makes it easier for you to see everything. But that's kind of the idea behind that double cabinet fold. And then it gives you a place to mark where all of these lines are supposed to go through, okay, and line up, okay? If you want to be real accurate about making it just like mine, okay? And then we'll add this window here, which goes right through the cabinet fold, which makes it a lot easier to cut it out in the end, okay? So that's the whole idea there behind those double cabinet folds. If you really want to do a ton of cabinet folds and cut a ton, then you want to try that with the Sprint Center, okay? So it has all the glass windows around the outside, and it looks kind of like that. So you can see that might be sort of tricky. So I'm just going to cut this out, okay? This is not too much different than what we did last time, except hopefully I won't totally tear it this time, but you never know. Whoa! Alright. So then, once I get to that final part, getting that little window out of the middle, then that's the only part I think that can be a little tricky for some people, is getting that final part cut out. Let's see. Ooh, I only got one side. Try to make sure you cut both pages at the same time. Okay, so then I've got to open that up, and I've got to fold that in half, and then I'm going to cut out that little window there, okay? And then if you want to figure out where it fits on the other side, well, fold your paper in half, okay? And then you can sketch that window in on the other side, okay? And then you can fold it and cut that window out on the other side. If you do it that way, you just want to kind of make sure that you cut far enough out that you get the pencil lines off of there so they don't show up, or you can erase the pencil lines later if they're on the front side of your building, okay? People mostly won't notice, but if you draw your lines lightly, you can erase everything so that this would be the side. And then we can do something cool with it if we wanted to try and fold it so that it stood up sort of three-dimensionally again. It's kind of a cool way to put that together, so we'll try that out. So there's the first two buildings, the Prince of Peace building and the KC Power and Light building. So I'll let you try that, download those other templates, and cut out a few of those, okay? So your real assignment, okay, normally is to do 2 vertical buildings, 2 horizontal buildings, and then 2 buildings that are your own design. So in the next video, I'll show you how to do that, designing your own buildings, maybe mashing up a couple of the other buildings together, and then maybe we'll put together the background so we can have that all ready to go. So for now, try cutting out 2 verticals and 2 horizontals, okay, and see how you do copying my templates, and then we'll come back and work on the other ones next time. All right, see you guys later. Bye.